My parents were so rich and loved themselves so much that they even built a statue of themselves. We had everything money could buy and more. I had like a zillion toys, and I even had my own theme park. But I was never interested in their splashy lifestyle. I've always had a curious mind. Like, for example, I couldn't get my mind off what was behind that red door that Mom and Dad forbid me from opening. So sometimes I would just sit and look at it.
Samantha, you must be the only child on this planet who sits and gazes at a door when you have a room filled with toys.
Well, I was wondering if maybe I could look through the peeping hole just once.
But you know the rules, Samantha.
Please?
Fine, just one peek. I'm counting till 5. Okay, time's up.
No matter how much my parents wanted me to be like the other kids, fun and playful, I couldn't help but question everything around me. Like, why are ants so tiny? Or why do we all have 2 legs and not 5? Even my teachers didn't get me.
Okay, class, let's spell because.
Betty eats cold apples under Suey elephant.
Yes, Samantha.
Why does Betty eat cold apples under an elephant?
Oh, Samantha, you're the special one, aren't you?
I didn't care how people looked at me because I knew I was meant for something great. And then one day when I was around 10, I discovered my passion after watching Mira, the Royal Detective. I wanted to be just like her. My parents even got me my very own detective magnifying glass, but they instantly regretted it during one of their lavish parties. Instead of dressing up in a frilly dress taking selfies like the other girls, I walked around with my detective costume and magnifying glass. And as I was searching for clues to unravel anything mysterious, my detective skills took me into Mr. Shaquille's bag. He worked with my parents. And oh boy, was I surprised to find out what he had inside.
Excuse me, sir. What are you doing with this?
You inquisitive little girl. What are you doing in my bag? And bring back my teddy.
He acted like a little baby the way he hugged the teddy. It was hilarious. And then Mom and Dad took my hand.
That is enough, young lady. Are you trying to ruin our party?
I was just playing my favorite game, Dad.
Give me that. No more detective games for you, young lady.
But Mom, that's what I love doing.
Enough!
My parents locked me in my room for the rest of the party. I felt such a burning rage towards them, and what they didn't know is that I knew how to unlock my room door with my hairpin, something I've been practicing for when I become a real detective. I checked if the coast was clear and slid my way downstairs, and no, I was not going back to the party. Since my parents took away my magnifying glass, I was gonna go into the forbidden door. And once I unlocked the red door with my hairpin, I was shocked to find a tall shelf with lots of files. I was so disappointed. I was hoping to find a room full of candy or diamonds or something interesting since I was never allowed in here. And then suddenly, a photograph fell off from one of the files. And when I picked it up, it was a picture of a young girl who looked like she was my age. Why did my parents have a picture of a strange girl? While I was studying the picture, I heard footsteps, so I quickly closed the door and switched off the light, waiting for the person to go away. That was close. I sat looking at the photo every day, almost wishing it could talk back to me and tell me who she was. All sorts of things went through my mind, like, was she my sister? But then why would they hide her away? Was she a long-lost cousin? It definitely couldn't be an old photo of Mom since the girl had rare blue eyes. It was all useless, unless I was brave enough to ask my parents, which I wasn't. I eventually forgot about the picture, and I stopped playing detective. It was all just a big fantasy. Years passed, and then I was in high school, and my friend Tanya and I were the only two without boyfriends, because no hot guy wanted intelligent girls with bags heavy with books. Oh, if only. I know, but they will never go for us because we're too smart for them. I usually snapped out of drooling over hot guys, but my friend Tanya, well, she was so desperate for love that she even stalked the football captain on Facebook, pretending to be some hot supermodel. So, does the captain want to meet you in real life yet? No, you know that can't happen. With my big teeth, small eyes, and pimply face, who would ever like me? Hey, remember what I always tell you. Love yourself first before anyone else can. You're such a wise person. Thank you. I had deep love for Tanya. We only met in high school, but it felt like we'd known each other for a lifetime. I usually took a bus home with Tanya after school, but this time around my parents were waiting for me, because apparently they wanted to celebrate some business deal Dad made.
Our lives are going to be even more perfect now.
But we already have so much.
Money can never be enough, my dear Sammy. Once you get the taste of making your own money one day, you will want more and more.
Dad sounded so absurd, and then when the waitress came to take our order, my parents froze. And so did I, because her eyes looked exactly like the girl from the picture I found years ago.
You?
Sorry?
We actually should get going.
But I didn't take—
Samantha, come on, let's go.
My parents pulled me with them, and the girl looked so confused, and so was I.
What was that about? Nothing, dear. I just felt a little sick, that's all.
You're lying. I'm not 5 years old anymore.
You two freaked out when you saw that girl.
Samantha, when we tell you it's nothing, it is nothing. Now please shush.
I felt so upset with my parents. They were definitely hiding something, and I was ready to put on my detective cap again and get back into the secret room. The next morning, I pretended to be sick.
Sammy, it's getting late. It's time for school.
I don't feel so good. Can I please stay in bed today?
But you don't have a temperature.
Please, Mom. I think I have a stomach bug.
Okay, I'll ask the maid to keep an eye on you.
I waited for my parents to go to their oil company they spent most of their days at, and then I went downstairs to check if our maid was around. It was so strange, but I guess it was pure luck because I found the maid fast asleep on the sofa. She must have had a late night. I ran downstairs to the red door, but froze when I saw the door slightly opened. And when I got closer, my heart pounded so hard when I saw the back of someone's blonde head.
What the freaking chickens? Who are you?
When he turned around, the air in my lungs choked. This guy was gorgeous, but what was he doing in our house? He could be like a model in a hot magazine or something.
What are you doing here?
I live here. You have 5 seconds to get out, or else I'm calling the cops.
No, wait. I was sent here under investigation. You and your family were at a restaurant yesterday and acted strangely towards the waitress.
How do you know that?
That girl was robbed of all of her parents' assets after she lost them. And when she was 2, she was left at an orphanage. The caregivers found out that her parents were actually millionaires, and they left their only child all their fortunes.
Okay, and how does that connect to us?
All the girl's assets were embezzled from her family name and company. The only way she can find justice is if we help her find a memory card, which has all the encryptions to her assets.
I still don't understand how all this connects to my family.
Deep down, I was scared to admit that this strange guy was maybe right. My parents might be the fraudsters.
Well, their reaction yesterday triggered the girl, and she contacted the CIA, who have been working on this case for years. If you know anything, you have to let us know.
I started sweating and I felt so anxious when he questioned me. And then he suddenly called me as I didn't realize I was about to faint.
Hey, are you all right?
Can we get out of here? I feel a little nauseous. When we were in my room, I had to do the right thing. I showed him the picture.
I found this some years back, in the same room downstairs. It's the same girl from the restaurant.
You know what this means, right?
It's just a picture.
Your parents might be the criminals.
I broke down crying at the sound of the truth, and the handsome, strange guy in front of me comforted me.
I won't let anything happen to you. My name is Jake, and this is my number. If you see a memory card that your parents are very frantic about, call me.
Thank you, Jake. I'm Samantha, and I really don't want my parents to go to jail.
I know, but this girl they stole from has been struggling for a very long time.
You can use the front door. My maid is fast asleep.
Oops, I forgot about that. I saw her in the kitchen and sprinkled some sleeping potion around her. She'll be up after an hour or so.
With that, he jumped out my window and disappeared like some kind of Batman. After hearing everything that Jake said, I was never the same again. The thought of my parents being criminals scared me, but ending up in prison was even worse. What would happen to me?
Samantha! Samantha! It's your turn to go up to the board.
I was not myself, and there was no way I could go up and do any calculations on the board. My life was falling apart.
Samantha, what's up with you?
I looked at Tanya and I wanted to tell her everything, but instead, I just started crying.
Talk to me.
Everything at home is falling apart.
I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about it?
I was sent home early that day, and I pulled myself together and searched the entire secret room for the memory card, and found nothing but paperwork of different accounts, but none of it was in my parents' name. Our life was a lie, and the truth had to come out somehow. Later that night, my parents had Mr. Shaquille over for dinner, and he still carried his bag with his pink teddy everywhere with him. I usually liked to annoy him by accidentally touching his bag every time he was around.
Do you mind?
Are you still in love with your silly teddy bear?
It's made out of cushion.
It's not going to break.
Samantha, watch your words. Mr. Shaquille is much older than you.
I'm sorry, but I think it's funny that a man his age would love a pink teddy bear so much, unless he has, like, treasure hidden in there.
My parents gazed at Mr. Shaquille, gulping like they were guilty about something.
I think it's almost time for you to go to bed, Samantha.
I didn't hesitate to follow Mom's orders because I had to call Jake.
Hi, I think I know where that memory card is.
Great, I'll meet you at midnight by your window.
I was so anxious about seeing Jake again and actually exposing my parents. When he finally appeared at my window, I felt all kinds of butterflies swimming in my stomach. I was so crushing on him.
Okay, We have to be very careful that no one hears us.
Yeah, I know that, but the memory card is not here. I think it's in Mr. Shaquille's teddy bear. I can take you to his house.
No, I don't want you getting into any trouble. You are safer here.
This has been my childhood dream. I'm coming with you. And besides, you need me to find the directions.
Okay then, I guess you're the leader.
Jake had his car parked outside, and I was so nervous about this mission, but a part of me knew this was exactly what I was meant to do.
Wow, you really are like Batman. Your car even looks like the Batmobile.
You're funny, but also cute.
My face turned so red when he said that. When we reached Mr. Shaquille's house, we had two problems, his bodyguards and his scary dogs who growled at the gate, so we hid in the bushes. There's no way we can get it with all that security.
That's why I always carry an extra dose of my sleeping potion.
You are my age, right?
Yep, I go to school too. My uncle helped me become an intern with the CIA. Cool, right?
So cool. When I was a child, I used to pretend I was a detective.
I was the same, so I guess I wasn't the only weird one.
Dogs are barking. I think they know we're here.
Don't worry, I got this.
Jake went closer to the gate. He got the dogs to sniff his hand, and they immediately fell asleep. And then he climbed the tree, jumped onto the roof, and started sprinkling the potion on all the bodyguards. Wow, he is so amazing. As we entered Mr. Shaquille's room, the first thing I spotted was a freaking toilet pan next to his bedside. And when Jake saw it, we wanted to burst out laughing, but we held it in. I think I see the teddy bear. He's cuddling it.
Great.
It was nerve-wracking watching Jake pull the bear slowly out of Mr. Shaquille's hand, and then suddenly he sat up awake, but his eye mask was still on.
Who's there?
My heart pounded so much, but then I remembered the potion dust Jake shared with me, and I sprinkled it on Mr. Shaquille, and he dozed off immediately.
Well done, Detective Samantha.
We left Mr. Shaquille's mansion, and later Jake parked at a quiet parking lot where we tore open the teddy and found the memory card.
Bingo!
What will happen now?
I hand this over to my chief officer, and your parents and Mr. Shaquille will unfortunately be arrested. Hey, don't worry. I told you I won't let anything happen to you.
When I got back home, the police were already there. I ran inside to see my parents, and they were so mad at me.
Mom? Dad? Samantha, what did you do? We gave you everything.
You ungrateful child!
I'm sorry, but I didn't want to live a lie anymore.
After the cops took my parents, the girl from the restaurant appeared. Hi, I'm Jessica. Jake told me that you helped him. Thank you so much. I was taken back when she hugged me, and then a part of me didn't feel so bad for exposing my parents because an innocent person finally got her justice. I'm sure you're going to move into the mansion. I'll just get my stuff. You don't have to leave. What? This is your mansion. I have experienced the pain of not having parents and a home. Life can really humble a person. I would never want to see a good person suffer. Thank you so much. Even though my parents were not present, I still had the chance to be with my friends and continue with school.
You know what you should do? You should write a book.
Maybe I will, but what I'd like you to do is put on your real face on social media, because there's nothing better than the real you. Tanya eventually took my advice and even ended up having a real date with her crush. Some of my dreams also came true. Jake got me an internship spot with the CIA, and I was so good at my job.
I think the diamond is in the bottle the suspect always carries around.
Well, Samantha, I think you might be right.
But all of my dreams came true when…
Would you like to go out with me?
It depends, Detective Jake.
On?
It depends on what you know about me so far.
Well, I know you like Mira, the royal detective.
And
I know you like me, too.
you know me well.
Hi, I'm Alessia from a small town in Kenya. Growing up, I was stubborn and also a happy kid, even though my mom worked as a servant for the wealthy Chief Mwangi at his farm. I always felt like part of the family because of the chief's son, Barasa. He was my best friend, and he did almost everything with me. He helped me with chores and even stopped me from cleaning his room whenever I had to. It was fun, until his uppity father stopped him from hanging out with me.
Barasa, you're better than playing around with the servants. I want you to stay away from them from now on.
What Barasa's father said hurt me, and I knew it had something to do with the fact that Mum and I were poor. I became envious whenever I saw Barasa with his wealthy friends. So, one day I devised a plan to change his opinion of me. All I needed were the same expensive items that his friends wore. I began to put a lot of pressure on Mum to get them for me.
Mom, I want that dress.
How about we go to the yard sale over there? They sure do have some nice clothes.
I hate them. They're ugly and cheap.
I knew our poor situation was none of Mom's fault, And later that evening, she surprised me, and I was so overjoyed.
Honey, I saved some money and got you those Louis Vuitton shoes you wanted. Thank you so much, Mom. I have no idea why you need all these things anyway. We can do without them.
I didn't tell her that I needed them because of Barasa. He had a swimming party that night, and I wanted to make the best impression possible. I was going to show everyone that I wasn't just a regular servant girl. When I walked into the party dressed in one of my mom's old fashionable gowns and the Louis Vuitton shoes, everyone turned to stare at me. They made me so nervous that my heels shook so badly and I fell into the pool. Barasa quickly jumped in to save me, and I couldn't help but admire his strength. He lifted me as if I weighed nothing.
What did you think you were doing, Alicia? This isn't your style.
If your dad hadn't said those mean things about me and my mom and ended my friendship with you, I wouldn't have been trying to prove him wrong.
I'm sorry about Dad. He's a little harsh sometimes, but you should know you're my best friend, Alicia. Nothing can change that.
Then why do you hang out with them instead of me?
I'm only doing it to trick my dad. Besides, you don't have to change anything about yourself to prove him wrong. I don't care what you look like.
The moonlight danced on Barasa's face, sharpening his features and making him more handsome. Suddenly, Mum walked in on us.
So, this is where you've been all along, and I've been looking for you everywhere.
Mum freaked out when she noticed my position in Barasa's arms. For some reason, she had never liked him much.
Do you want us to lose our jobs as servants, Alessia? His father warned you to stay away from him.
As soon as Mum was done yelling, dragged me away from the pool. I couldn't have been more embarrassed. Later that night, she sat me down and talked to me.
Honey, life isn't all about wealth, but how to stay fulfilled with whatever you have. I'm disappointed in your actions tonight.
When she finished, tears streamed down my cheeks and I hugged her.
I'm sorry for everything, Mom. I'll be better.
And I did become better. I did all my chores diligently while Barasa continued hanging out with me during moments his father couldn't see us. Our friendship grew stronger, transcending beyond rules set by our parents. A few years passed by and Mum fell ill. She was bedridden for weeks while I cared for her. Every day was filled with hopes for her recovery. And one particular day, she told me something that shocked me.
Honey, I think it's time we moved out of here into somewhere better. I want to give you the life you deserve.
I wasn't a fan of the idea. Moving out meant saying goodbye to Barasa and the horses I'd grown attached to. I needed some space to think. I left Mum alone and dashed to the stables where I found Barasa and told him everything.
I don't know if I want to leave you and everything behind yet.
Then don't. Don't let your mom take you away from the farm, Alicia. You can stay with me. I'll take care of you.
Barasa's words followed me for the rest of the day, and when night reached, I went back to Mum.
Mom, I don't think I'm ready to leave the farm yet.
But Alessia,
I think it'll be better if you let yourself heal here. The nature will give you more peace.
Fine. You've always been a stubborn child anyways.
I love you, Mom.
I love you too, baby girl. But there's another thing I need to tell you.
Mum grabbed my face and looked at me with an expression I had never seen on her face before. It was fear.
There are, some things you don't know about and don't need to know about yet.
What do you mean, Mom?
She ignored my question and continued like I hadn't said anything.
If anything should happen to me, there's a box of valuables buried next to the cherry tree in the farm. Take it and run away. Do you understand me, child?
I was speechless, so Mum shook my shoulders.
Do you understand me, Alessia?
No, Mom, and you're scaring me. What's happening?
You don't need to know, but you'll do what I say, right?
I mumbled out a small
right
and watched as her expression shifted to normal in milliseconds. It was scary.
Now, honey, come give Mummy another hug.
Mum felt strangely better the next morning and dashed to the market to get some dairy products. She put on shades and a wig before doing so, as if her performance the night before hadn't been strange enough. Everything made me so curious, especially when Mum didn't return that night. I panicked and dashed to Barasa with the news.
My mom hasn't been back all day, Barasa. I think something happened to her.
I've got this. I'll rally some villagers and search the town for her. It's a small town. She can't be far.
I joined the villagers in their search. As we ransacked the forest, I felt a hard object under my foot. I picked it up and found that it was an ID with Mom's passport. Her name on it was Nuella Smith, which was different from the Jennifer Howard everyone knew her as. Mom was hiding something, and I could feel it. I noticed a movement to my right and quickly hid the ID in my pocket before turning around to see Barasa emerge from the bushes with a solemn expression.
I'm sorry, Alicia, but we couldn't find your mom. Footprints in the soil suggest she might have run away.
I gulped and turned away from Barasa as my eyes watered with tears. I couldn't believe my mom had left me. After that day, life on the farm felt different without Mom. I had planned to leave as well, but Barasa persuaded me to stay.
You don't have to leave, Alicia. I'll be inheriting the farm in a few years, and by then I could marry you, and we could live happily ever after. I mean, that's if you want.
Hearing Barasa say those words made me feel a bit queasy.
Of course that's what I want, Barasa. But is that what you want?
He gripped my chin and stared at me with such intensity that it made my stomach churn.
That's what I've always wanted, Alicia. I've been in love with you since we were kids.
I'm in love with you too, Barasa.
Barasa kissed me and fireworks went off in my head. 3 days later, I was in the coop feeding the chickens when Barasa walked in with a sad look on his face.
Alicia, I have something to tell you. I'll be leaving to boarding school this week. Dad enrolled me in one yesterday.
Sadness enveloped my entire body as I hugged Barasa.
But what about our promise?
Don't worry, I'll never forget. Your heart and mine are locked forever.
The next morning, Barasa left the farm and we waved at each other with a secret look on our faces, promising to always return to each other. I carried on without Barasa on the farm, even if I constantly continued to feel the lack of his and Mum's presence. The only thing that kept me going was his promise to me. Time passed, and 2 years later, news of Barasa's return spread like wildfire.
I heard Chief Mwangi's son will be returning today, and he's now a very handsome man. The girls won't know what hit them.
I gave the woman a small smile before hurrying home with the vegetables I had purchased. Chief Mwangi was throwing a big party to celebrate Barasa's return, and I couldn't wait to see him. As soon as I arrived at the mansion, I noticed cars parked all around it. I walked around looking for him when I noticed him kissing a girl on the patio. Many people surrounded him, applauding and yelling.
Happy engagement! Thank you all. Angela is the prettiest woman I have ever met in my life.
My heart broke into 1,000 pieces. In disappointment, I tossed the market bags to the ground and fled the scene. Barasa, like Mum, had lied to me. I had no one but myself to rely on. I dashed to the cherry tree Mum mentioned years ago and dug furiously at the soil beside it until my hands hit something. It was a treasure box with a lot of money inside. I quickly packed my bags and left with the treasure chest without telling anyone. I flew to America and began a new life there. Mum's money supported me for years, and I used some of it to start a small agricultural business that grew into something big. I became one of the world's youngest billionaires and the proud owner of Aulis, a food technology firm. One day, I was on my way to work when a woman bumped into me.
Hey, watch where you're going.
She turned around and I was surprised to see
Mum?
Hey, pretty lady. Please, I need a job. I can be your personal maid. Here's my CV.
Security suddenly showed up to drag her away.
Sorry, ma'am. This crazy lady escaped us. We'll take care of her.
No, leave her. I'll take care of her.
I took Mum to my office and asked her a lot of questions.
Why did you leave me alone on the farm all those years ago?
Huh? I don't know you.
She couldn't answer any of my questions, and the worst of it all was that she couldn't even recognize me. I took her to the hospital, hoping they could fix her memory issue.
I'm afraid there's nothing we can do for your mother. She needs something to trigger her memory. Maybe an impactful event from her past.
I tried everything to trigger Mum's memory. I showed her old photos of us together.
That looks like me.
Took her to a farm, even showed her the ID she dropped all those years ago. Yet, Mum couldn't recognize me. I gave up and settled on taking care of her instead. The stress of caring for Mum and the company took a toll on me, so I took some time off and went horse riding constantly. And one day, I saw Barasa and his wife. She was yelling at him right in the middle of the parking lot.
I'm filing for a divorce right away!
I was about to ignore them when she raised her arm to slap him, and I couldn't help but swoop in and grab her arm.
That's enough. I won't let you assault someone on my property.
And who do you think you are?
Alessia, Barasa's old friend and owner of the parking lot you're standing on.
Of course you're his friend. You both look pathetic.
She flung her arm out of my grip and walked away with a menacing look at Barasa.
Expect divorce papers and my lawyer!
When Angela left, Barasa looked at me.
Wow, you've grown and changed so much, Alicia.
I wasn't going to remain a servant forever.
Barasa had also changed since the last time I saw him, and seeing him now, I realized I no longer cared about him. There was no trace of the love I felt all those years ago.
Alicia, about what you saw years ago. Dad forced me to marry Angela as a business transaction. He wanted a deal with her dad. It was nothing serious.
I don't care, Barasa. I'm sorry about what your dad did, but I think it's best we move on. I've moved on. You should too.
I won't give up on you, Alicia. No matter what it takes, I'll do anything to prove that I still love you.
I pulled my arm out of his and walked away. I wasn't letting him back into my life. The next day, I was sitting on the couch watching some STA videos on TV when I heard a knock on my door. I went to see who it was and was surprised to see Barasa standing right on my porch with a bouquet of flowers in his hand.
Hey there, thought I'd pay you a visit.
How did you find my place?
I asked around. Would you let me come in?
Fine. Make yourself at home.
Thank you. Your place looks absolutely beautiful.
While we talked and caught up on the past, Mom walked in.
Hey, Mom. Meet my friend Barasa. You remember him, right?
She gave him a strange look, then approached him and sniffed his scent like a dog. Her pupils dilated and she pointed at Barasa.
I know that smell. My memory's suddenly coming back to me.
I knew I should be relieved that Mom's memory had returned, but I was offended. I was her daughter and she couldn't even recognize me. But then she remembered Barasa, whom she didn't even like. She was also acting strangely and scaring Barasa.
Hey, Mom, that's enough.
No, Alessia, that boy and his father are criminals.
That's a lie. You're a crazy woman.
I remember everything. I was a CIA agent undercover on their farm gathering intelligence on their crimes. They found out and tried to capture me, but I escaped. I fell and hit my head as I ran away from them, and I couldn't remember much else except that some nice people helped me.
Wow, that's a lot. Are you sure, Mom?
Yes, honey, it's why I wanted us to leave the farm, but Barasa and his father were threatening to take you away from me. I couldn't tell you because I didn't want to get you in trouble.
Everything Mom said shocked me to the bones, and I stared at Barasa, who avoided my gaze.
Is this all true?
She's lying. Can't you see? She left you, and I took care of you.
No, you didn't. You only wanted her to trust you so you could turn her against me.
What? I'm sorry, Alicia, but your mom is going crazy. I'm just going to leave you with Miss Loco here.
Suddenly, Barasa sped for the door, and Mom leapt in the air and karate chopped him to the floor. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I never knew Mom had such skills.
I've gathered enough intel on you and your father. You're not going anywhere.
She rang for someone, and minutes later, suited men in shades showed up to the house.
Thank you for your hard work, Noella. The president will reward you for doing a good job.
I strolled up to Barasa and gave him a resounding slap.
I can't believe you were only playing me. All that talk about love and you suddenly reappearing in my life? It all makes sense now.
Barasa's expression instantly shifted to anger, and he seemed nothing like the boy I knew all those years ago.
I wasn't playing you at first. I really liked you, but your mom had to go snooping around. Always keep your enemies closer, Dad says. And you and your mom are my enemies.
Good. I hope we stay that way. You're a jerk. Enjoy your time in jail.
I watched with a smirk as Barasa was dragged into the car and driven away. As soon as he left, I turned to Mom.
So your name's Noella. I wish you had told me instead of keeping me in the dark.
It was for the best, honey. Again, I'm really sorry. I'll spend each day making it up to you.
I hope so.
I threw my arms around her in a hug, basking in the scent and warmth of her body, which I'd missed.
I've missed you so much, Mom. I was really scared you'd never remember me, and then when you did, I got mad that it only happened because of Barasa. I felt like you didn't love me.
Don't say that, baby. I love you. And as for my memory, I couldn't control it, but remembering you is the best thing to have ever happened to me. I've missed you too.
Mom and I stayed in the hug for several minutes until I remembered someone we hadn't spoken about.
What about Chief Monkey? What'll happen to him now?
I figure he's already heard about everything and is on the run, but we'll get him. He can't run forever.
You're super cool, Mom.
The next day, Mom was invited to the White House where she received an award of recognition and excellence from the president. I couldn't have been prouder of her. You know, sometimes our parents did mean the best for us after all.
It was a lovely sunny day, and my school held a Father's Day event. I brought my mom along since I didn't have a dad. And while we sat there enjoying the festivities, suddenly 2 of the school's most annoying boys came to bug the heck out of me.
Hey, Mia. If you haven't noticed, this is a Father's Day event.
Yeah, I know that.
So, are you the father? Because we only see your mom.
What did you just say?
He called you a father.
One thing about me is I had a very short temper.
But they didn't stop teasing. So I got up and twisted their ears so hard they cried for their mothers.
Mommy!
The teachers then came and asked me and Mom to leave.
These boys were teasing her. You have to be reasonable. This is not the first time Mia reacted after just a little bit of name-calling. Once she tripped a girl who called her something silly, and we looked past that. Please, try to get your daughter some professional help with her anger issues.
Mom was so upset with me that she knew that if anyone messed with my family, that was the wrong button to press. Later, after the picnic, I was still so mad about what happened at school, so I went to talk to Mom about something that was heavy in my heart. Mom, why don't you ever talk about my dad?
Because he's not that important. He left when you were just a baby.
Mom always felt uneasy talking about who my dad was. I usually changed the subject when I could feel the vibe between us become a little awkward. Okay, it's almost time for our telenova. Mom and I loved watching our favorite French telenova, Longing for Love. And Mom loved the lead actor, David Barrow. Mom, you're drooling again. I loved Mom so much. She was like my best friend in a way. So eventually, I stopped asking her about my dad. And then when I turned 16, I got the surprise of my life. After I blew out the candles on my birthday cake, Mom kissed my cheeks. And then all of a sudden, this famous actor from a popular TV series stood at our table. Mom, did you hire David from the Longing for Love to perform for my birthday? Mom looked at the actor in front of us for a moment, and then she looked at me.
David and I used to go to school together. Yes, your mother and I were actually high school sweethearts.
Mom, how come you never told me that you dated a famous actor? Mom was lost for words. And then the surprise came.
Because he is your father.
Even though I saw his face like a million times on TV, I froze, just staring at him, and then I turned angrily to Mom. I asked you so many times about him, and you said he ran away!
Mia, I can explain.
Mom had 16 years to explain, and I was too angry to even be next to her, so I ran off and waited for her in the car. After the big reveal, I stayed angry with Mom, and then my so-called actor dad paid a visit to our house.
I would like to get to know Mia, and I want her to come back with me to France. Oh, no, you can't just take her to another country. You kept her away from me, and now it's my turn to get to know my daughter.
Mom and Dad started arguing, and then I entered. I agree with him. I want to go.
Mia.
Mom was hurt, and I really felt bad for her, but I wanted to get to know my dad. So I flew away with him all the way to France. My mouth dropped when I saw Dad's house. It looked like a castle. Wow, is this your house?
Yes, I've already asked the staff to prepare a room for you.
Inside, the mansion was like a fairy tale, and my room was fit for a queen. Thank you so much. Should I call you Dad, or...
I'd love if you called me Dad.
I felt like we were really connecting until two people entered the house with shopping bags. A tall woman and a girl my age.
Oh, you must be Mia. Wow, you're gorgeous.
Thank you.
Mia, please meet my sister and her daughter Felicia. They live in the mansion with me. Felicia, why don't you say hi to your cousin?
Hi. Don't worry about her. She takes time to get used to people.
When I went to my room, Felicia was there, sitting on my bed. Felicia, can I help you with anything?
I just wanted to apologize for not being welcoming.
She had a poker face when she said this, like she never even tried to smile. Oh, it's okay. Would you like to take me on a tour through this beautiful city?
My mom and uncle won't allow us to leave the gates without adult supervision.
After she said that, she left the room, and since I was exhausted from the flight, I dozed off. The next day, I found Dad in his study, and he looked super busy, but I was too excited to stay indoors all the time. Dad, I want to go out and explore the city.
No, not today. We only have family outings on Saturday. Today is a reading day.
But it's the holidays, and I only read during school days.
Well, things are different here. We live a very disciplined life, Mia. You'll learn. Now choose a book and go read.
I left his office extremely upset, but he didn't seem to give a fudge. And when I sat in my room, I decided to play some music from my phone. And while I was dancing alone, Laura suddenly barged in, grabbing my phone and breaking it into pieces. Hey, what are you doing?
We don't play music in the house on a weekday. Everyone must be quiet. Reading.
Are you crazy? You just broke my phone!
We'll get you another one over the weekend.
I didn't know whether to cry or to run. I felt like I was in a crazy house. Later that night, I was starving since I ended up falling asleep the whole day. But when the chef revealed my dish, I found a snail shell. What's this?
Escargot. It's just a starter. Try it. You will enjoy it.
Oh no! I've seen snails crawl up the walls in our backyard! There is no way, even in paradise, that I'm gonna put a snail in my mouth!
Mia, you will eat what we eat.
No! I won't! I don't eat this! I've never eaten snails in my life! Please understand!
Mia, you have to learn to adjust.
This is ridiculous! I'm going to my room! After telling my dad off, I left the table and cried for the next hour or so, wishing I never came here. And then there was a knock on my door. I tried to ignore it, but then I heard Felicia's voice.
Mia, open up, it's me.
I ran to the door and found her standing with a plate of sandwiches.
I told the chef to make you a sandwich. Please don't say anything.
Oh, thank you so much. I let her in, and she sat with me while I ate the delicious sandwich. How do you manage to follow all the rules in this house?
It's the way my mom and uncle were raised back in the USA. My mom is not that bad, but because your dad is rich and we struggled back at home, we had no choice to come and live here.
So my dad is the controlling one. No wonder my mom kept me away from him.
Yes, he lives by a set of rules, and we all have to follow them, or we don't get to enjoy this luxurious life. I have to leave now. Bedtime is soon.
I already slept enough during the day, and when I looked out the window, the night looked so beautiful. And as I was looking at the stars, I could feel someone looking at me. It was a boy from the house opposite. He stood on his balcony and just glared at me. And then I quickly closed my curtains when Laura entered without knocking again.
Lights off. It's bedtime now.
I want to go back home.
Don't let your father hear you say that. He really wants to get to know you.
Well, I don't like who he is, and I don't care about his money. After Laura left, I peeked out the curtains again, and the boy was still there, looking directly at my room. Early the next morning, I needed some fresh air, and since I woke up much earlier than everyone else, I made myself some coffee and went outside. While I stood on the porch, I noticed someone throwing plastic bottles over the wall. Hey! What are you doing? Ow! Hey, stop throwing your trash over this wall!
Well, it's not my trash. When I woke up, I found all these plastic bottles on my turf.
And who says that's our trash?
Because all these bottles are at the edge of the wall. So who else could it be?
It was pointless starting an argument with this boy, who was actually very cute, by the way. So I started throwing all the bottles back.
Hey, you can't do that.
Oh, yes, I can! Oh, Dad! Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you up.
What are you doing outside so early in the morning?
I just wanted some fresh air.
Come on inside. The chef made you some breakfast.
I hope it's not snails again.
No, that's not a breakfast meal. Just your traditional bacon and eggs this time.
After breakfast, Felicia and I sat outside drinking lemonade. So what happened with you early this morning? I heard noises outside.
Oh yes, it was this boy from…
Before I could tell Felicia about the boy from next door, he popped his head over the wall.
Hey, is the bottle war over?
Well, that depends if you start it. He disappeared for like a second, and then he appeared with a hose pipe, spraying both Felicia and I wet.
Well, I've started it.
How do you know, Liam?
We had a bottle war this morning. Do you guys have a hose pipe?
I think so, but I don't know where it's kept. We should go inside and get dry.
Oh, way. Not until we get Liam back. Come on! Felicia was so scared to break my dad's rules, but I told her to relax and have fun. So we went into Liam's yard with buckets of water. When Liam came out from his garage, Felicia and I threw 2 buckets of cold water all over him. Got you! Before we could run off, he held my hand and drew me closer to him. And my heart started racing just looking into his shiny blue eyes.
You're brave coming over here. Felicia never steps foot outside the house unless it's for school.
Yeah, we should really go now.
I guess I'm not scared of anything. After that fun event with Liam, Felicia and I tried to sneak past Dad's office without him noticing. But he was already standing by the stairs with Laura, who looked so nervous.
I'm very disappointed with you, Felicia. You know the rules of this house, but instead of leading Mia in the right path, you've shown her that being rebellious is okay. For that, you and your mom will leave my house.
What? But it was my idea! I took Felicia next door and there's nothing wrong with that! We were just being normal kids!
My decision is final.
Dad's heart was as cold as ice. He had no mercy on anyone. Laura and Felicia cried in each other's arms, and I felt so bad for them. I had to do something to help. Later that night, I waited for everyone to fall asleep. And when the house was dead silent, I got up. I managed to sneak outside and jump over the wall to Liam's house. I started throwing stones at his window to wake him up.
Liam! Liam!
You again?
Yes! I need your help.
Okay, I'm coming.
Liam came down and helped me sneak up to his room. I was amazed to find he was a musician. He had posters of famous artists all over his room, and he had a very fancy guitar. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I really need to borrow your phone.
Is everything okay?
No, my dad is a control freak, and I really need to contact my mom. When I called Mom, she was so happy to hear my voice, and I immediately cried and told her everything.
So I guess your mom will fetch you soon.
Yes, I hope so. Thank you so much for your help.
I'm going to miss you. Even though I hardly know you, it was nice having a friendly neighbor.
If you call having bottle wars and water fights friendly, then I'm going to miss you too. The next day, I overslept and got up so late. And when I went downstairs, I could hear Mom's voice.
I kept her away from you for this very reason. You are a control freak. I won't let her go. She's my daughter too.
But I want to go. I'm not happy here.
I guess we're all leaving then. I'm tired of being your doormat, brother.
But I helped you when you had nothing.
But Dad, you told her to leave! How long did you expect her to beg for your help?
Dad looked at all of us silently for a while, and then suddenly he started crying.
I'm sorry. I know I have a problem, and I promise I'll get help. Just don't leave me alone in this house. Please.
I actually found a job back home, so I really want to start afresh. Felicia deserves that.
I hugged Aunt Laura and Felicia as they left. I'm so happy that I have a cousin and an aunt like you. I'll call you.
I'm going to miss you, Mia.
After some time, Dad got all the help he needed, and Mom gave him a second chance.
Your Aunt Laura and Felicia just called. They will be visiting us during Christmas.
Oh, I can't wait to see them! My family was complete, and I was so happy.
Hey, I just got back from the gym. Am I late for the barbecue?
Yes! You were supposed to be here ages ago!
Here, I brought you an ice pop to cool down your hot temper.
I also saw a therapist for my short temper, and he told me to take deep breaths every time my temperature started rising.
What are you doing?
I'm breathing so I can calm down. Liam, my parents are here.
Sorry, I was trying to calm you down.
Liam was crazy, but I loved him so much, and so did my parents. And I eventually did learn to cool my temper down, because when you really care about your loved ones, you sometimes learn to compromise. Hi, I'm Rhea. I was raised by a single dad, and although he was a big businessman, he cried every time he had to spend a penny. But I was not like that. I was super generous with my things, and this annoyed him. One time when I was 10, we baked a batch of cupcakes from some leftover flour.
Rhea, don't take the whole pack of cupcakes outside. All the neighbor kids will eat it.
But I love sharing, Dad.
Fine, then that's the last cake that you will bake for this year.
People around me say my heart was exactly like my mom's. She left us when I was 2 because of the way Dad was. But I didn't miss her too much because at school, I was admired by many kids and had my best friend Jack. He was a big science genius and could even mix together healing remedies. One day at the school lab, I made a silly mistake that my hands almost paid for.
Ouch!
In seconds, Jack mixed up some things that instantly healed my hands.
Whoa! Way to go, Jack! Thanks!
Just practice for when I become a doctor in the future. Then I'll always come home to your delicious baked cookies.
You shameless foodie.
Only for foods you prepare.
Jack was totally sweet, and I thought I knew him inside out. But soon, he began to act weird. One evening, he was having his 17th birthday when I arrived with the cake I especially baked for him.
Hey, Rhea, over here.
But before I could reach him, I stumbled and fell into the pool.
I struggled in the water for just a few seconds before I heard someone dive in and help me out. Before I could process anything else, I was receiving mouth to mouth. I opened my eyes and saw the face of an angel.
Are you okay?
Before I could respond, Jack appeared and pushed the guy away.
Are you okay?
Yeah, My eyes slid to the guy who had saved me from the water, and he smirked at me, making me forget what I wanted to say.
Little brother, won't you introduce me to your friend?
Little brother? He's your brother?
Unfortunately, yes. That really hurt. Like, right here.
Come over here.
Jack's blatant rudeness to his big brother made me blink in surprise, and his hunk of a brother took the insult in stride, like it was an everyday thing.
My pretty nameless friend, I'm Noel.
For the rest of the party, Jack went about all sulky, and when I questioned his attitude, he went off on me.
You were just lying there, letting him kiss you.
Excuse you? I was still in shock from nearly drowning, and that's called CPR, you idiot!
Just anytime my brother comes that close to you again, run like he's the devil.
Why?
Just do as I say.
I couldn't take the attitude anymore. You know what? I think I've had enough of this party already. I stomped out of the party, and just as I was about to enter a cab to go home, a motorcycle stopped right before me. It was Noel.
Hey, need a ride?
I was thrilled with the opportunity to talk to him again, but Jack's warning made me cautious. Don't worry, I'll take a cab. Thanks.
Come on, I don't bite. Don't mind all the lies my brother spreads about me. He's just jealous.
Why would he be jealous?
Because I'm better looking, and my hair's longer. Why else?
I couldn't resist accepting the ride. Noel was a whole dish of funny. He made me laugh all the way home. We got to my home in minutes.
Whoa, nice place. Your father must be rich.
Thanks. Wanna come in and have, water?
Nah, how about I take you out instead? Next week, my treat.
Despite Jack's warning, I found myself saying yes. We exchanged numbers and he zoomed off. Jack later called to apologize for his moodiness, and I forgave him. But I forgot to tell him about my coming date with his brother because soon we were submitting college applications to countless universities. When I got the invite from my choice university to study baking and pastry arts, I was so ecstatic I rushed home to tell my dad, but he gave me the shock of my life. Dad! I got in! Woohoo!
And who says you're going to a university? You're going to take over my real estate business, so no need to waste money on something you wouldn't be needing anyway.
What are you saying, Dad? You know I have always wanted to be a pastry chef.
Well, I am sorry, but that won't work. I have other plans.
It felt like the ground had been ripped from beneath my feet. What other plans? You're just a cruel man that doesn't give a cent about his only child. You have done nothing for me.
I have done everything for you.
Like what? Buy me oversized Barney shoes so it would take me 10 years to grow into it?
It's not. Now's not the time to say it. I
was too mad at him to listen and just left the house. I didn't know where I was going, but in that moment, I wanted to be as far away from Dad. I was nearing the park when a motorcycle sped past me and the rider grabbed my phone. Thief! Thief! But to my shock, the rider stopped and pulled off his helmet. It was Noel.
Hey, Rhea.
Have you turned into a thief? Why did you grab my phone?
I was just playing with you. We still have our date tomorrow evening, right?
Yeah.
Cool. See you, mon chéri.
With Dad's words still weighing on my mind, I didn't have much headspace to overthink what had just happened. I called Jack, and we met up at the park.
I can't believe your dad said that.
Beats me.
Well, look, this is your dream. You can't let anyone stop you. Maybe you should think of something you can do to raise enough money to go to college.
There was only one thing I could think of. I can bake mini cakes and sell them.
Bingo! People are gonna love it.
Jack's mom even agreed to help me sell them at her coffee shop. But the next day, when I set to bake the first batch I would sell, my world turned upside down. An hour into baking, I began to feel numbness and tingling in my feet, and soon my vision was all blurry. Dad! My own voice was so tiny to my ears, but thankfully, Dad was close enough to hear me.
Rhea, what's wrong? Honey, talk to me.
Dad rushed me to the hospital, and the doctor diagnosed me with diabetes.
You will have to avoid every form of sugary food to better manage it.
I was crushed. How could I go to a baking school and become a baker if I couldn't eat sweets?
Sweetheart, it's not the end of the world. You can just be a business person like me.
I don't want to be anything like you, Dad. Even if this means I won't become a baker. When did being diabetic mean I can't go to college? Later that evening, I was sitting on the porch trying to figure out what to do when Dad came out too.
Rhea, sweetheart, you don't need to be so upset. It's all for the better, I promise.
The roar of a bike cut him off. It was Noel. And worse, Jack was coming up right behind him.
Hey, babe, ready for our date? I sure hope you can dance.
I was so lost in my thoughts I had forgotten all about our date this evening. I felt a different kind of horror hit me as Jack turned to gape at me.
You're going on a date with my brother?
What's wrong with that? You never told me why—
Send him away. You don't deserve someone like him.
Send him away? Don't talk to me like that. You don't even know what I'm going through right now.
Yes, little brother. Stop treating her like a little girl and get used to the friend zone. Rhea, what is going on here? Stop pretending to be nice, Noel. I know who you truly are. A brave beast, unlike you.
To my shock, Jack roared like a freaking lion and tackled his brother to the ground. Dad managed to pull them apart, and I was so mad at Jack.
You two get off my property right now. I don't tolerate violence of any kind.
Jack can go. He started the fight anyway, but Noel stays.
Rhea, we still have something important to discuss.
If it isn't about you accepting that I'm going to college, then I'm not interested. After Jack left, I canceled the date with Noel in favor of us just hanging around the backyard.
Sorry about that. My brother has got the temper of girls that have lost their makeup.
I was so touched that he was apologizing for his brother's rashness. He's the one that should apologize, not you.
What was that just now with your dad?
I told Noel everything about my issues with Dad and college, and he said the most shocking thing.
If your dad wouldn't give you money for college, then find a way to take his money. Simple.
You mean I should steal his money?
I prefer to use the word borrowing. You can pay your miser of a dad back later if you want.
There's no way I'm taking his money without his permission. His suggestion was crazy, but something happened that made me decide to do it. That same night, for the first time in my life, Dad bought me a box of chocolate and ice cream.
Ta-da!
What's going on? It's not my birthday.
I know, sweetheart. I just want to apologize. I know how much you wanted to go to college and all that, but the truth is, my business is going down. I don't have enough money to sponsor you at college. If I did, why wouldn't I send my only child to college?
My heart broke at the gesture and Dad's sadness. You should have just told me, Dad. I believed Dad completely, because while he was stingy, I had never known him to be a liar. But when I woke up the next day to see if he could let me take on a part-time job so I could help, my jaw dropped at the sight of an open safe filled with money, and Dad was talking about giving it to some girl.
All these years of being tight-fisted is for her, you know. She will be the happy one in the end when I show her.
I steamed with anger. Dad had lied. Not only did he have lots of money, but also wanted to give it all to some girl while denying me college. I couldn't let that happen, and only one option made sense to me. That same day, I called Noel up and we met at a small coffee shop. There, I said the words I would forever regret. I want to do it.
Oh my god, Rhea, please don't propose to me yet.
Propose? You're one crazy dude. You made the suggestion last time. I want to borrow money from my dad. Can you help me?
Sure.
We made our plans, and 2 days later, when I was sure Dad had gone to work, I snuck into his room with Noel in tow. There is loads of money in this safe. We will just take what I need to cover my college fees.
Can you open it?
Just as I punched in the code, Noel suddenly pulled a mask over his face. Noel! What are you? A scream left in my mouth when 2 other masked guys jumped in from the window.
Shmo, Shelly. Don't worry. We will give your dad the punishment he deserves.
So this is who you really are! A thief! That day on the road, you really wanted to rob me of my phone! Jack was right. You are worse than the devil!
Aw, that's a sweet compliment. Thanks.
I was numb with shock as Noel and his gang packed everything without leaving a cent. He even had the guts to sing to me when they were done. I was still shivering like a leaf when Dad stormed into my room that evening.
Rhea, we have been robbed.
I wanted to pretend I didn't know anything about it, but guilt and fear was eating me up, so I broke down. I confessed to what I had done.
No, Rhea. Why did you do that?
I heard you over the phone talking about saving all the money for some girl. I just wanted a cut to help myself through school.
But Rhea, you're the girl I was talking about. All this while, I've been saving up money for you to run the business with as soon as you graduate high school.
I couldn't believe my ears. All this while, Dad has just been saving up for me. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. Dad quickly set the police on Noel's tail, but weeks passed and he wasn't found. Even his mom didn't know where he was hiding. I couldn't forgive myself, but to my surprise, Dad wouldn't even find fault with what I did.
It's all my fault, Rhea. I shouldn't have left you in the dark or lied. My dad had a lot of money, but he wasted it early in our lives. So by the time I was grown, I suffered to fend for myself. When I had you, I promised I would make you have the most comfortable future, even if it meant some temporary hardship. But somehow, it's good this happened. I know now that I took it too far and made the impression of being a wicked and stingy father.
Nothing you say excuses how I led thieves right into our house, Dad. I am so sorry. I will learn the business. Forget about college. I'll do whatever you want.
What happened to becoming a baker?
I'll have to forget about it. After all, I'm diabetic now.
Or maybe you can research on making desserts that even diabetics can eat. You have no idea how many of them crave stuff like that.
Although we lost a lot of money, the incident made my relationship with Dad better than ever. But I knew I had one more relationship to mend. I went to Jack's place early one morning. I had to apologize for not believing him and sending him out of my house in favor of his criminal brother. Jack, your brother...
I know, I heard.
I should have listened to you.
No, I should have told you the plain truth about who he really is. Noel is the black sheep of our family, and he was just fresh from rehab that day you saw him first. I was just very jealous.
Jealous of what? His long hair?
Ew, is that what that idiot told you? You were obviously charmed by him that day at the pool and...
At the sight of the blush on his cheeks, my eyes widened in realization. Wait, Jack, do you... like me? Like, more than a friend?
I'd rather say no if yes will freak you out. I'm a coward in that regard.
Of course not, dork. Just let's take it slow, all right?
Starting with, will you be my date for the prom?
It would be my pleasure. In the end, Dad let me get into college. And when I was done, I took his advice in creating special dessert recipes for people like me. Jack became a doctor. We didn't remain a couple, but we stayed best friends.
How do these sugar-free macaroons taste better than those with sugar?
Secret recipe. Though things worked out in a way for me, I would forever regret letting my anger control my decision. Guys, if you ever get mad like I did with my dad, don't act on it. Find a way to calm down, take a breather, or else you could make a horrible mistake, like I did.